The patent for nail polish dates back to 1919 and it was light pink. That's a great example of the kind of facts you're going to get throughout this video. If you thought you was coming to this video to learn actual useful stuff about makeup, about how to apply the perfect winged eye or how to achieve the perfect matte lip, well, you are incorrect, because that's not what you're going to get. Instead, I'm just going to see how many facts about makeup I can fit throughout this video, most of which you may perceive as useless, but regardless, all of which will indeed be quite interesting, like that first one about nail polish. And speaking about nail polish, here's a second fact for you. The first nail polish was invented in China in the year 3000 BC, and it was made by mixing egg whites, beeswax, gum and coloured powder. Would you look at that? 2 useless yet interesting facts in the first 2 minutes. Now, like I said, for the rest of this video, I'm just going to see how many of these useless facts I can reel off for you. So if you sat at home and you're just looking for something to have on in the background, this might be good. If you just want to learn some stuff about makeup that you might not know already, that is going to be quite interesting, then you're in the perfect place. Or perhaps you're sitting down right now and you're doing your makeup. You're applying your makeup and you want something about makeup on in the background. Well, this is going to be the perfect video of that, because that is all we're going to be doing. So let's continue with the year 3000 BC, when pale was desirable. But how did they achieve this? Well, people in the year 3000 BC, they had to bleed themselves, and they would do this using leeches or cutting into a vein to achieve this look. You bleed yourself out, you go all pale, and that looks desirable. That was the look of the day. You know, Victorian women would also do this to enhance their veins, to have this like blue vein look and pale skin look. I've done another video about weird beauty trends throughout history that you should really check out. That's one of the ones where I speak about just that thing. But moving on to this video, dyeing your hair. Let's talk about hair, because this isn't just about makeup. It's also about cosmetics. Now, dyeing your hair in ancient Rome involved feeding leeches. Yep, we're doing another leech one. Leech was popular back in the day. Makeup and cosmetics, it was a popular thing. So what you do, you feed leeches, you put them in vinegar, you're leaving the substance to ferment for about 2 months, and it will ferment into this thick leech paste, and then you apply the mixture to your hair, and when you allow your hair to dry for like maybe a day or so, you've got black dyed hair. That's the things women will go through for that black hair look. And the Aztecs were no better. The Aztecs used beetles to make red lipstick. So they'll crush up a load of beetles and they'll rub that on their lips instead. But let's talk about one of my favourite women in history, Cleopatra. Not only was she one of my most favourite, but she was the most fashion-led women in history. She was one of the first influencers. Now, Cleopatra was said to have soaked her ship's sails in perfume, so everybody could smell her arrival. Talk about having a signature scent, that is how you have a signature scent. And more about Egypt, this is also where the first makeup came that we see more in modern life. This is when eye makeup came into play. Women would apply dark colour underneath the eyelid and blacken their eyelashes to get that black eye look. So modern makeup as we know it today, a lot of that did come from Egypt. And whilst we're on the subject of modern makeup, what a perfect segue into some modern facts. Like MAC. You ever wondered what MAC stands for? Well, MAC stands for Makeup, Art, Cosmetics. Also, MAC was founded by 2 men named Frank back in 1985. You had Frank Toscan, who was a makeup artist and photographer, and you also had Frank Angelo, who was a beauty salon owner. Both of which were frustrated at the lack of colours that would shoot well with photography. So because of that whole photography thing, that's why they set up MAC. But what about Maybelline? You ever wondered why that got its name? Well, the founder of Maybelline, who was a man as well, you know, a lot of these big time cosmetic and makeup companies are all owned or founded by men. I don't know what that says, but there's definitely something in that, isn't there? Anyway, the founder of Maybelline named the company after his sister, Mabel, who inspired him to create makeup products in the first place. What about L'Oreal? L'Oreal is the largest cosmetic company in the world. You know who owns a quarter of that large empire? That is L'Oreal. Nestle. That's right, Nestle, who you may know from making delightful confectionaries like this one. They own a quarter of L'Oreal. Then we have Max Factor. I always thought Max Factor was like like a slogan, you know, like get the max factor. Always felt like the factor bit was like the top factor, like the X factor, the it factor, and max was like the top of that factor. Like, hey, use max factor. It is the maximum factor of, I don't know what I thought, but point being, Max Factor is actually a real person. The company is named after the Polish-Jewish cosmetician who founded the company way back in 1909. Mr. Factor, Max Factor. And now this fact isn't necessarily about the same thing, but I'll tell you what, it's interesting nevertheless, and I really want to slide it in. Coco Chanel, she started the trend of tanning after she tanned herself on a cruise, and then everyone wanted to be like Coco Chanel. Interesting, right? And speaking about the start of these fashion trends, how about shaving your armpits? Right? When did that start? Well, more women began to shave under their armpits, to shave their underarm hair after seeing a model with shaved armpits in a fashion ad way back in 1915, which is all about cosmetics, right? But what does the word even mean? Well, the word cosmetic comes from the Greek word cosmos, which means of this world or worldly. And the United States, that has the highest rate of cosmetic surgery in the world. But it's not all about getting your nose done or getting your lips done. Cosmetics covers a large area. Did you know? Bubble bath, mouthwash and deodorant, they are all considered cosmetics. And speaking more about deodorant, in 1952, roll-on deodorant was invented after being inspired by the ballpoint pen. And now for this next one, I don't have a smooth segue into it, but I wanted to mention it either way because it's very interesting. Now, because you wash your hands more than you wash your face, it is not a good idea to match makeup to the skin tone on your hands. This could make you choose a darker or redder tone. And talking about reddish tones, women used to pinch their cheeks to give themselves rosy cheeks before the invention of blush. More on modern day, do you like fish? What do you think of fish? Well, I hope you like them, because ground up fish scales can be used to add shimmer to lipstick and eyeshadow. And that's in today's world. But going backwards in time to the Victorian era, upper class women, they did not wear any makeup, since it was only used by stage actresses, working class women and prostitutes. And how about another actual useful fact for you? Well, if you are doing your makeup while watching this video, and I don't know why in my head I just imagine whoever's watching this video or listening to it is someone doing their own makeup. Well, if you are, be careful now, because the most common injury caused by makeup is scratching the eye with a mascara wand. So be careful with those wands. Also, dermatologist tested does not mean the same as dermatologist approved. You can test something and completely disagree with it and still have dermatologist tested on it. Does not mean that they approve of it. Moving swiftly on. In the old days, makeup was used to frighten enemies, to show social rank, or to make magic. Speaking of magic, during the first Elizabethan period in England, and I have to say first now, God rest her soul, Elizabeth II has passed. During that period, people believed that lipstick could work magic, and that possibly even ward off death. So Queen Elizabeth I credited lipstick with life-saving powers and applied it heavily when she fell ill. When she died, Elizabeth had on nearly half an inch of lip rouge. Half an inch. Imagine how much she was putting on there. That's because she believed it would save her life. And I believe we can squeeze in one more fact, why the hell not, while sticking with the mystical and magical powers of lipstick. The belief in lipstick's mystical powers caused an uproar from the church and state, who deemed its application sinful. Pictures of the devil putting on lipstick were often used, and women had to address their lipstick use at confession. By the time the law stepped in, Parliament declared that using makeup to deceive an Englishman into marriage was punishable as witchcraft. Imagine that. I think we all know at this point in time, Parliament was made up of pretty much entirely men who would marry women and then decide, you know what, I don't want to marry them no more. I wish I could get a divorce, but I can't, because divorce is frowned upon highly by the church. But how about if we say that they deceived us into marriage by using makeup and lipstick? So a man could cheat on his wife with another woman, do unspeakable things, and in the eyes of the law, it was the woman's fault. She was the temptress, she was the seductive one, she was the seducer, or because she wore makeup. And there we go, there is a bunch of useless facts about makeup that you are now less clueless in, and nevertheless of them being useless, they are still, at the end of the day, quite interesting. And I hope you learned 1, 2 or possibly 26 new